The glow of the setting sun bathed Ethan Carter's sleek office in hues of amber and gold, casting long shadows over the Manhattan skyline. The floor-to-ceiling windows reflected his tall frame as he straightened his tie for what felt like the 100th time. On his polished mahogany desk lay the divorce papers, their presence as heavy as the secret Ethan had been carrying for the past 18 months. He stared at the papers, his chest tightening. In just a few hours, his marriage to Mia Robinson, a decade of shared dreams, laughter, and struggles, would officially come to an end. It was what he thought he wanted, or rather, what he thought she deserved. Yet, the weight in his chest told a different story. A soft knock at the door broke his reverie. When he turned, there she was. Mia, dressed in a simple yet striking blue dress, she stood in the doorway, her expression calm but her dark eyes betraying the turmoil beneath. Ethan's breath caught. Even now, with their relationship in ruins, she was effortlessly captivating. "You're early," Ethan said, his voice softer than he intended. "You're late," Mia replied, stepping into the office with the quiet confidence that had first drawn him to her years ago. "But then again, you've always been late when it matters." Ethan glanced at his watch. 7:22 p.m. She was right, as always. Before he could offer an excuse, Mia crossed the room, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. Her fingers brushed the edge of the divorce papers, but she didn't look down. Instead, she met his gaze, her voice steady, yet tinged with vulnerability. "Before we sign anything," she said, "I have one last request. I want us to spend one final night together." Ethan stared at Mia for a long moment, trying to decipher the true intent behind her unexpected request. "One last night?" he asked, his voice laced with skepticism. Mia nodded softly, stepping closer, her gaze unwavering yet tender. "Yes. No lawyers, no papers, no grievances. Just you and me, remembering what we once had. And maybe—" Facing the truth, her words hit Ethan like a wave, making him feel as though the ground beneath him had shifted. "And if I say no?" he asked, trying to mask the turmoil rising in his chest. "Then tomorrow we'll just be two strangers signing divorce papers," Mia replied, her tone gentle yet resolute. "But we deserve more than that, Ethan. We were a team once, remember?" The words "we were" clinched around Ethan's heart like a vice. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. "Fine. But if we're doing this, you have to agree to one condition. Honesty. No secrets, no hiding. You have to know everything." Mia blinked, momentarily surprised by Ethan's sudden agreement. Then, a slow smile spread across her face. A bittersweet smile that carried years of longing. "Everything," she repeated, holding out her hand. Ethan took her hand, feeling the warmth of her palm. A familiar sensation he thought he'd lost forever. "All right," he said, his voice steadier now. "So, where do we start?" Mia's grip tightened slightly, her eyes glimmering with something between hope and nostalgia. "First, we leave this office," she said, glancing pointedly at the divorce papers sitting on his desk. "Then, we remember how to be us again, even if it's just for one night." Ethan followed her out of the office, leaving the unsigned papers behind. He knew that tonight would change everything. The atmosphere in the small restaurant, where Mia and Ethan had shared some of their earliest dates, was painfully familiar. The soft glow of candlelight danced across the table, evoking memories of laughter and endless conversations. But tonight, the air between them was heavy. Mia offered a faint smile as the server placed their favorite dessert in front of her, a rich chocolate cake she always adored. "Do you remember this place?" she asked, her voice gentle but layered with emotion. "Of course I do," Ethan replied, trying to keep his tone even, but inside he felt as though he was being crushed by the weight of the secret he was about to reveal. Mia set her fork down deliberately, her hands trembling slightly as she locked eyes with him. Her gaze carried a quiet determination, like she was peeling back the layers of his carefully guarded walls. "Ethan," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I need to understand. Why did you change? Why did you push me away?" Her words sliced through him like a knife. Ethan leaned back in his chair, taking a shaky breath. "You want the truth?" he asked, his voice trembling. Yes, Mia said firmly, her eyes never leaving his. Ethan lowered his head, unable to meet her gaze. I was diagnosed with cancer, Mia, he said, the confession spilling out like a dam breaking. The world seemed to go silent. Mia's face froze in shock. Cancer, she echoed, her voice breaking. When? 18 months ago, Ethan admitted. It's brain cancer, stage 3. I didn't want you to go through the pain of losing someone else. After everything you've already endured with your family, I couldn't put you through that again. For a moment, Mia was silent, processing his words. When she finally spoke, her tone was different, sharper, stronger. You thought you were protecting me by hiding this. You thought I'd want to leave you when you needed me the most. I didn't want to burden you, Ethan said quietly. I thought if you hated me, it would be easier for you to move on. Tears spilled down Mia's cheeks, but her eyes burned with anger and hurt. You didn't give me a choice, Ethan, she said, her voice shaking but resolute. Love isn't about shielding each other from pain. It's about facing it together, even when it's unbearable. She stood abruptly, the chair scraping softly against the floor. I need some air, she said, and walked away from the table, leaving Ethan alone, feeling as though his heart was breaking into pieces. Ethan found Mia at a small park near the restaurant, a place they used to visit often in the early days of their relationship. She stood by the stone railing, the soft glow of the streetlights casting her silhouette against the night. Ethan hesitated for a moment before approaching, her coat draped over his arm. You'll catch a cold, he said gently, slipping the coat over her shoulders. Mia didn't turn at first, her voice steady but tinged with bitterness. It's ironic, isn't it? You worry about me catching a cold, but you hid an illness that could have taken you away from me forever. Ethan swallowed hard, trying to steady his breathing. I know, he admitted. I was wrong, Mia, but I didn't know what else to do. I just didn't want you to go through more pain. This time Mia turned to face him, tears glistening on her cheeks. Do you think I'm so fragile that I couldn't face this? She asked, stepping closer. Her voice was firm, almost fierce. You don't get it, Ethan. I lost my parents, I lost my brother. But the one thing I can't bear is you making all the decisions without giving me a choice. I was scared, Ethan said, his voice breaking. Not of dying, but of making you watch it happen, of hurting you. Mia looked into his eyes, a mixture of sorrow and determination reflected in her own. Love isn't about protecting each other by hiding the truth, Ethan. It's about standing together in the storm and refusing to let go. If you thought I wasn't strong enough, then you were wrong. Ethan felt the walls he'd built around himself crumble completely. He took a deep breath, looking at Mia with newfound gratitude. I don't know if you can ever forgive me, he said softly. I don't need to forgive you, Mia replied. I need us to fight this together. No more secrets, Ethan. You don't have to do this alone. 3 days later, Ethan and Mia walked into his doctor's office at the medical center. Mia sat beside Ethan, a notebook in her hands filled with questions she'd written after carefully researching his condition. Ethan glanced at her, a quiet sense of gratitude swelling in his chest. Are you okay? Mia whispered, her eyes soft